All right, so next up we're gonna talk about KD. So KD requested a trade from the Brooklyn Nets. This is another weird situation. Like he's in year one of a 4-year deal for like $200 million, and so he's asking for a trade. And apparently, it has something to do with the fact that the Brooklyn Nets did not want to give Kyrie Irving everything that he wanted. I don't really know. Like this whole thing to me is just weird. And so now there's all of this stuff going on with KD and who's a good fit. And he said that he would like to go to Phoenix. He would like to go to Miami. Naturally, the media is running wild with scenarios that would make sense for him to end up back in Golden State. Steph Curry was asked at a golf tournament whether he would like to play with KD in Golden State again, and he said, "No, I think what we got is good. I think we got a good, solid foundation." And so, obviously, the talking heads are reading the tea leaves on that and making it seem like Steph doesn't want KD or there's some kind of issue there, like we don't need you around anymore. And meanwhile, this is going on 2 weeks of KD requesting a trade. And I'm just kind of looking at the whole thing saying, how the hell did we get here? Like, y'all are supposed to be the next iteration of the modern NBA super team, and James Harden shows up, goes away. Kyrie Irving is a malcontent on purpose, as if you didn't know that was a part of his personality. He doesn't play half the games. You guys get swept in the first round by the Celtics. Kyrie Irving still makes demands that aren't met by the team because the team is going to stick to their guns. And now you say you want to get traded. So I don't really know what's going on with this. All of this is kind of annoying to me, but what did you have? What do you think about what's going on with Kevin Durant's trade demands?
I think it's buyer's remorse, and it seemed erratic and spontaneous the first time when they got together, and I was like, this seems so forced. It didn't feel natural. It didn't feel genuine. I'm a fan of Kyrie Irving. He's a cool guy. I think he's a cool guy, even though he's weird. He has his quirks, but at the same time, as a basketball player, I am a fan of his skill more than I am a fan of how he plays basketball. And I think he's tremendously skilled. I'm not a fan of his brand of basketball. And, it's not Rucker Park every day. I like teammates and passing and, moving without the ball and, that stuff. And he doesn't do that. And that's fine. But, because Kyrie's a shooting guard. And so if there's a situation where he's the point, I didn't see the formula building out basically. The Harden thing, again, another square peg in a round hole situation. I felt like that was forced. So I just wasn't a fan of how the whole thing was coming together. The Nash component is a head scratcher. No coaching experience at all. Just throwing him in a fire like that. Just because he's a Caucasian male who shot threes well, he's not Steve Kerr. And so they just threw him in there and just say, hey, Nash was a floor general, so he should be able to. Nah, man, coaching is a lot deeper than knowing X's and O's. So that whole situation just doesn't look right. Him demanding a trade, I'm not surprised in this day and age of instant gratification and, hey, this ain't working for me. And now with the certain teams, basically the salary cap is not even a real thing anymore. You just do whatever you want. So KD is honestly probably pioneering team hopping at this point. A new breed of it of, I signed a big deal, but I won out after a year. So, that's how I feel about it.
Yeah, quick with the Steve Nash component. Mm-hmm. Steve Nash is the coach of that team because Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving insisted on that.
Yeah.
So if you want to lay that at the feet of anybody, it's those guys. It ain't the Nets or the owner or that was those two black players.
No, I know. I know, but they put that's what I'm saying. I don't. The race thing is not a thing. I just said that they just found this guy. I mean, they look alike archetypically or whatever. Yeah. But it's a situation where they put that whole team together.
Yeah, they did.
So it's their fault, and the whole thing just don't make sense. So,
well, you know how I feel. I'm a big believer in body of work. So I judge a person's circumstance based upon their history. So let's look at the body of work of everybody involved in the situation real quick. So Kevin Durant was in Oklahoma City for what, 8 years, 9 years? He led the league in scoring a bunch of times, scored a lot of points, put up numbers. They went to the finals one time, lost to the Heat 4-1. Other than that, they didn't really excel much beyond that. And, they had, Westbrook and Harden. Harden came off the bench. But, for the most part, outside of 2012, where they went to the finals, Kevin Durant was a guy who was universally lauded as exceptional as an individual basketball player. However, they failed to reach the mountaintop. Whose fault is that? Who knows? People say that there was no leadership. Kevin Durant has publicly stated he doesn't care about being a leader. He just wants to be a principal contributor to a championship formula. And, that's okay, because not everybody is supposed to be a leader. So, leadership, that's one of those things that gets thrown around, in the sports media landscape, and is used as a weapon to take players down a peg when it comes to, how we should perceive them in terms of their all-time greatness, because we've made it this barometer for, whether you're a leader or not, is also whether you're a leader. No, you can be an elite player even if you're not a leader. And, Kevin Durant, like I said, much to his credit, has said, I don't care about being a leader. I just want to be a principal contributor to a championship formula. Be that as it may, he was in OKC for all those years. They went to the finals once. I think they went to the conference finals like once or twice. Other than that, they lost in the second round or the first round all the rest of those years. So, Russell Westbrook took the brunt of the heat for that. In the aftermath, it was, it's because Westbrook plays the way he plays and it ain't going to work. So Kevin Durant goes to Golden State. He tries to circumvent the system by putting himself in a situation where he's pretty much guaranteed to win, because he knew that his all-time greatness couldn't be validated without championships. So he says, well, what's the fastest way for me to actually be able to bypass that? Well, let me go to the team that has the best core so that we can win. And then they won 2 straight. I don't necessarily agree with this idea that you completely discredit his achievements because he was on Golden State. If you were actually watching the games, they don't win that without him. And he was by far and away the best player, both on offense and defense. So he deserves credit for that. However, if you want to compare him to other guys who won at a high clip but didn't necessarily do it specifically in that manner, it's a fair assertion to make in terms of bringing him down a notch or two if you want to analyze it in that fashion. But just looking at KD, then he goes to Brooklyn, and there's nothing to show for that entire experiment. Kyrie Irving, I don't even need to get specific with that. He was the number 1 overall pick. They were perpetual losers in Cleveland with him there when he was healthy, because otherwise he wasn't available because of injury. LeBron shows up. They win 1 championship. And then Kyrie Irving decides that he doesn't want to be second fiddle, goes to Boston. They underachieve. Then he decides he's going to leave after saying that he wants to be in Boston to get to Brooklyn with KD. Once again, they underachieve. The book is out on that guy. I don't need to go anymore with Kyrie Irving. His skill is one thing, but there's a difference in terms of how you implement his skill within the framework of an organizational structure is a completely different thing. And I just don't know that he necessarily fits. He's actually more like Westbrook than we realize, because Westbrook works best when he's the best player on a bad team, because then he gets to run roughshod with his style of play. Kyrie Irving is similar. I'm pretty sure if you put Kyrie Irving on a team with no other great players, he will excel, but the team will underachieve. That's the book on him. James Harden is a gimmicky player. I don't care what anybody says. He puts up all of those points in Houston, and those things to me were a facade. It was a fallacy. He got to the free throw line a lot, initiating contact on fast breaks. He scored a lot of points with his gimmicky step back three, which the rest of the league is caught up with. The referees are no longer calling those fouls where you create the contact after you jump up for a three. And on top of that, he's an older player. So all of that has contributed to his dissipation as an individual player. And he was always, to me, gimmicky. So when you put all of that into a blender, what it amounts to me is a mixture of inconsistent guys who are emotionally volatile, but don't necessarily fit within the ideal of what it takes to win at a high clip from a championship standpoint. And it hurts for me to say that because I used to be a guy who was KD is better than LeBron. But at this point, I think the book is out on that because of the way some of these career moves have played themselves out. And so, when it comes to his trade demands, I just think that it's a manifestation of his emotional volatility, and him not being able to make the correct decision up front. You've met somebody like that, like a guy who makes, or anybody who makes sort of a rash knee-jerk decision to do something without really thinking it through. And then when it doesn't work out, in retrospect, you say, man, why didn't it work out? Well, it's because you didn't really think it through. Yeah. You didn't really think the Brooklyn thing through. You just did it irrationally because you wanted to remove yourself from Draymond Green and Golden State. Well, this is what you get when you don't think it through. Same thing with the rest of these guys. They think things, they make irrational decisions, don't think them through. In retrospect, they regret the decision, and then they want to reconcile that by making yet another rash decision by demanding trades. And this is what you get as a result. The only thing that I will say is I hope to God he doesn't end up on the Miami Heat. I don't want him here. Please. Why? I don't want him. No, I do not want another sideshow. I dealt with the Heat sideshow for 4 years with LeBron. I don't want another Heat sideshow. Take that shit to Phoenix. I don't want him on the Heat. I don't like the mercenary stuff. What are we going to do? Sign him to a 1-year deal for $100 million with an option to opt out, and then he's going to opt out and be a free agent, and he guts the franchise? I'd rather not deal with that. Like, we were in the doldrums for 2 years after LeBron because of that BS. Like, I'm not in the market for that. If we're going to get into the market for a marquee superstar free agent, give me a guy like Damian Lillard or give me a guy like Giannis, somebody who you can sign to an extended deal, and you can pretty much rest assured that he's going to play out his contract. And there's not going to be issues with either other players, teammates, coaches, or some kind of situation where he decides he wants to get traded or opt out of his deal so that he can go somewhere else and test the waters. Keep him out of here. I don't know. Pat Riley is probably never going to watch this video, but I don't give a damn. I'm saying this. I don't want him here. Keep him away from the Heat. I don't want that noise. And that's all I got to say.
Well, the thing is, hold on now. Now, this is not, he's a sideshow, but he's not LeBron level sideshow, bro.
It will become that. It will become that.
I don't know about that.
He was not LeBron level sideshow before Golden State. Westbrook took the blame for that, how that played out. When he got to Golden State, they won 2 in a row. And then after that, it was him and Draymond Green yelling on the sidelines, him disrespecting Steve Kerr. In the press conferences after the game, he would mock some of Steve Kerr's sound bites and some of the things that Steve Kerr would say after the game was over. Stuff like that gets played out in the media, and now you got Get Up and First Take and Undisputed and all of these shows talking about KD and Steve Kerr or talking about KD and Draymond Green. I don't want none of that. And I feel like, given the history of his career, it's almost a guarantee that it will happen in some way, shape, or form. I don't care what anybody says.
I got you. I'll still sign up for that. He's no different. I mean, I'll still sign up for that. Once he gets into the culture and Udonis Haslem gets his hands on him. And that's no shade to Haslem. I love him. And for anybody out there that be disrespecting Udonis Haslem, all right, you guys do not understand. You must not understand his role on that team. And so you remove him off our roster 5 years ago, our record I mean, I don't know how many losses we would have had because his presence is not there. So I feel like once if KD came to the Heat, it'll be a thing where it's Miami already, and then so he's there. It's gonna be a sideshow. I agree with that. But look, bro, we need weapons, and I'm sorry, bro.
There's weapons. We
You
just
need
don't
artillery.
Yeah.
You need artillery. They out there. So my thing is, if the Heat stumbled into the finals, we would have been falling in there. And the way that Golden State was just so oiled, they would have just beat us off of endurance. And so once we get to that final apex part of, man, we're always in the Eastern Conference Finals, and I'm happy about that. But the thing that's going to push us over the top is that, that guy that can get 35 plus. And Butler was getting 40. But my thing is that guy that can get 35, 40, like in his sleep. And so I that's why I would be intrigued, and I would do the mercenary thing just for a crack at least one or maybe two rings in a 4-year span. I'll take that.
I don't disagree. I just would rather a different mercenary. KD just comes. Okay. I'll say this. Here's what I'll say. In fairness to Kevin Durant, I just, the problem, once again, it's the body of work thing. Like every team he's played on, there's been this dust up. And at a certain point, you have to look at the common denominator. That's all I'm saying, bro. Like, look, objectively, all I'm saying is look at it objectively.
Yeah, I'm looking.
Oklahoma City, dust up. Westbrook.
Was that him or Westbrook? Was that him or Westbrook?
I don't know.
We just talked about Westbrook.
That's not my point. My point is there was a dust up that was present, and he was there.
There's smoke.
I'm looking at it's the common denominator thing. I'm not saying he was or was not responsible. What I am saying is
he's in a lot of misunderstandings,
and there was a dust up.
He's in a lot of misunderstandings. I'll give you
that. Golden State probably has, along with Miami, and you can throw other teams in there, other franchises like San Antonio. If you want to talk about culture, what organization has a stronger one than that? And yet KD was there, and it was a dust up. And that was after they won. They won 2 straight, and there was a dust up.
And honestly, and Draymond Green is the Udonis Haslem for their team.
So what I'm saying, and now we're in Brooklyn, dust up. So again, if you want to give KD the benefit of the doubt and say that there were extraneous circumstances and he wasn't at fault for most of that, I'd be willing to entertain that notion. However, the common denominator is that there were dust-ups everywhere he played. Whoever you want to assign blame for the dust-ups, there was a dust-up everywhere he played. So if I, being the logical person who looks at consistency and body of work, he comes to the Heat, I cannot assume that there will not be dust up. That's all I'm saying. And so my thing is, Damian Lillard just signed with Portland, and I think that was purely for the money because he knows they ain't winning. But give me Giannis. Give me Giannis. There's not going to be dust up with
that ain't happening. Bro.
I'm just saying that's what I would prefer. Give me, even give me a guy like Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard is perpetually injured, but at least there's not going to be a dust up. Now, in part, that's because he has no personality. But nevertheless, there's not going to be a dust up. So just give me something that's not going to be a dust up is all I'm saying.
His lack of availability is so frustrating. I know if he could be healthy in the playoffs, he would be. And he turns it on in the playoffs. But man, I'd be so frustrated when people be paying so much money, and you know what I'm saying? And it's no knock on him. I mean, people get hurt, but it's just I can't put nothing. I don't know.
He's perpetually injured. Yeah,
I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
But if we had Kawhi in the playoffs, whoop over the top.
Yeah.
So I get what you're saying. But man, it's nothing like what's that, Slim Reaper, bro.
Yeah, I know, bro. I didn't think that's the thing is I like Kevin Durant, but I also have to be an honesty broker. I feel like that's one of my charges in life. And it's like I'm watching this stuff and I don't get into the whole, because you know what a lot of people do who spend too much time on social media is they'll want to give their uninformed opinions as to what's going on, even though they have no idea, because they don't know KD, nor do they know anyone else who's involved in the situation. So I'm not going to give my uninformed opinion on what's going on or who's to blame. So I don't engage in that. But what I do look at is the evidence that I do have available to me. And the evidence that I have available to me is everywhere he's been, there's been a dust up. And it's sad for me to say that because I like Kevin Durant. Again, I was somebody who screamed to the mountaintop, give me Kevin Durant over LeBron. And I felt like my Kevin Durant over LeBron stance was affirmed when they beat Cleveland head-to-head with everybody playing. So when Golden State was fully loaded and Cleveland was fully loaded, when they played that second time, and Durant was guarding LeBron head up, and they beat them, they swept them. I felt like my stance was affirmed in that regard because both teams had everybody playing, and Golden State swept them. And moreover, Kevin Durant was guarding LeBron, and I loved that. And so I felt like, yeah, give me Kevin Durant over LeBron. But now at this point, it just seems like it's just a lot of noisiness. And even though he can bring a lot of benefits to your team by him being there, I just kind of predict the dust. Like, when is the dust up going to happen? And I just don't like dust up for the team that I like. It's entertaining for other teams that I don't care about. But I have one team in this league that I actually follow. And outside of that one team, I just like individual players. But I do follow the one team in the Miami Heat, and I just don't like dust ups. I'm not averse to superstars. I just don't like circuses. And LeBron was a circus, and KD, I think, would be a circus.
Yeah, we already have a combustible person. Jimmy is a combustible.
Yes, yeah.
And so I don't know how Jimmy Butler, KD is going to mesh in the locker room.
And look what happened with Jimmy Butler with Karl Anthony Towns. Like, Karl Anthony Towns and Wiggins. Like, both of those guys, probably from a personality standpoint, are closer to Kevin Durant, I would say, in terms of being stoic and not necessarily caring about, being a, life of the party type, superstar type person. Like, they keep to themselves and they're more stoic. And there was a dust up with Jimmy with those guys. So I'm just saying, I don't know. I would just rather not take the chance.
Yeah, Jimmy's abrasive. He has an abrasive personality. And so, if you're not on his good side, he's going to let you know about it. And so, I don't know how that's going to work because KD is so he seems emotional, and the decision to go to Golden State was emotional. Decision to go to Brooklyn is emotional, and honestly, I wouldn't put nothing past him that this next decision is going to be emotionally based. So as far as the whole talks of him going to Golden State, I don't think that's going to happen. But I definitely think that wherever he goes, it's going to be. I hope he doesn't make it off emotion, but he's leaving out of emotion.
Exactly.
So, this is part of his behavioral set. I agree with that. I didn't look at that angle. The one legit one that I would give, because I'm the blame pointer at least, I will say that, hey, the Golden State thing was, he realized that was a bad decision, even though he was winning, and so he kicked up dust.
Yeah,
so I get it. So that was the one legit one where I was like, come on, KD, come on, man, get it together. And I was hoping he was going to, revitalize up there, but it felt forced for all the reasons that I stated earlier. So, yeah, man, I'm wishing him the best. If he lands on the Heat, bro, sorry.
Yeah, I'll have to accept it, but I'm not going to be happy about it. But yeah, it's the mere fact that he has requested a trade. So it's not about, because he, where he ends up might not be a bad thing, but the mere fact that he just up and requested a trade after just signing a 4-year extension a year ago, that's an emotional decision. There's no other ways to cut that. And so, everywhere he's been, there's just been a dust up. That's all I'm saying. And so,
what is his sign? Go ahead.
It was like $198 million for 4 years, and he's in year one of that. Something like that. And, furthermore, for selfish reasons, I fully intended to invest in season tickets to the Heat next season.
Right.
And if Kevin Durant ends up on the Heat, the price of that is going to skyrocket.
Yeah.
And I want to be able to be in the building. And if I can't be in the building because of that, I'm going to feel some type of way.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. Next up, we're going to talk